Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jecks, the tea drinking author who's on the last dregs of a breakfast tea. All gone. Right. Today, it's one of those periods when life's a little bit hectic. I've got a new book coming out Friday, which when this goes live will be tomorrow, which is an absolutely excellent story, I must admit. There are times when you read your own work and you think, that was okay. And then when you've left it for a couple of years and you reread it, you think, bloody hell, that was good. Which is what I had when I read through that, Fields of Glory, which came out last month. Then Friday this week is the second in the Vintains series, Blood on the Sand, which comes out Friday, as I say. And then there's also Blood of the Innocents, the third in the series, which comes out on June the 25th, I think. And then I've got The Piazza Murders, which is going to be published on July the 1st. And then in September, I've got Ashes of Rebellion, which is the fourth in the Vintains series. So that's 5 books. I've already published Death Comes in Threes. That was early this year. And in December, I'm going to be publishing Pilgrim's War, the first in the Holy War series. So this year I'm publishing 7 books. Plus I've written Ashes of Rebellion, I've written The Piazza Murders and a third collaborative book, and I'll be writing a 4th before the end of Christmas because I've got to get that out of the way because that's coming out next March. So all in all, this year has been absolutely frantic. So I thought today I'd do a nice easy one. I was fiddling around thinking I need to get using a smaller pocket pen again because I love my 2 Pinedas. They are fabulous pens, but there is always the joy of going back to something that is just old school, and you don't get much more old school than this. I was thinking about using my Sheaffer. Must do a video about Sheaffers. I've got 2 Sheaffers that are non-functioning. One is a beautiful Sheaffer Snorkel. I have to say Sheaffer Snorkel because it sounds better. Sheaffer Snorkel, which is gorgeous, but it's ceased to function. The snorkel has got stuck out and I can't get it back in. And I'm really nervous about breaking any screw mechanism or anything else on the inside. So I need to get them mended. And then there's another Sheaffer which I gave to my mother, which is beautiful because it's, I guess, chrome plated or steel, but it's got an engraved pattern around the outside, which has been filled in with some sort of gilt. And it looks beautiful. The only trouble is, at some point, very sadly, my mother managed to break the nib. She never told me because it was a present I gave to her with my first money when I started working. And I thought I'd buy her a present just for that. And she loved it and she used it for a good 40 odd years. But when she died, I found it hidden in a desk drawer, broken and certainly unusable. So I've got to get that mended too. That was a bit of a digression, wasn't it? So yes, I was looking at this and thinking I should go back to a nice little light pocket pen because this is ideal for a shirt pocket because it's small and it's light, but it's got a fabulous broad nib. It writes wonderfully and it's very quick and easy to fill because it has this lovely lever mechanism. And so while thinking about that, I thought, what sort of ink shall I put in it though? And at the same time I was thinking, well, when you're looking at inks, which are my favourite sparkly inks? And so I went back to my Bible, a Cahiers, which has all of the inks I have ever tested so that I can refer back to it and talk moderately sensibly about what inks do, how they look. Now, when I think about sparkly inks, I have to admit that two of my absolute favourites come from the one company, which is Dominant Industry. And the reason why is that I'll show them here if I can. This here is Dusk, which is a very pleasant light grey. In this light, it has, I would say, probably slightly more of a blue tinge than red. But hopefully you can see there that the glitter throughout this ink is just stunning. It glitters pretty much whatever the angle you use it at. But Dominant Industry don't only make Dusk, they also make Autumn Forest, which has similar really high concentrations of glitter and looks glorious on the page. If I was going to say, I would also say it slightly sheens. It's got a slightly reddish sheen, which is probably because they've got more of a golden reddish glitter in it, whereas the Dusk has definitely a sort of silver or possibly slightly blue glitter in it. Either way, they both work superbly well. I love Dominant Industry inks. I like their Tanzanite. I love their Lungo, which is a sort of very dark caffeine coloured. I could easily imagine them calling that Lungo just because it looks like a Lungo coffee. Winter Wood is a much darker wood type of colour. Leaf green, I'm not that keen on greens really, so I won't go into that in too much detail. But then they have, what else? Autumn Forest, which is a sort of a darker grey with slight brownish tinges, but again, lots of glitter and very impressive. And I was looking at these and I was thinking, oh, I could load one of them. They're really nice coloured inks. But then I thought, well, Prince Charles has just gone over to Canada to open up their House of Parliament. So maybe I ought to go with something like this. The Platinum Jubilee ink. Now this wasn't designed for Prince Charles. This was designed obviously for the Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth. But it is a glorious glittering ink. It's a lovely pale blue. I would say it's on a similar sort of vein to China Blue from Diamine. It's also quite similar to Delftsblau from Ackermann, which I do absolutely adore. Now, here it is, and I can't seem to get any glitter off it at all today. It's very, very refined, which is irritating from the point of view of creating a demonstration for you. But there is another ink which appealed to me, Arabian Nights. This is a much darker blue, as you can see, because I reviewed it above. Much darker, and it has a lot more glitter in it. I can see it much more prominently. And these were the two that I came down on that I really ought to be using. But the trouble is, I mean, it's like all these things. You pick up a little Bible like this, you start going through it, and then you're reminded of these inks, like Autumn Forest and Dusk. And of course, Dominant Industries Autumn Forest. all of which seem to work really efficiently in terms of their glitter. Dusk, I have to admit, I think is probably the most glittery of the lot, but it could be that Dusk I had loaded in a pen after shaking the bottle quite extensively, and that made it look much more dense in terms of glitter. Of course, the problem that I've got here with both of these diamines is that I wasn't using my standard 1.1mm stub nib. So I think what might be a good idea would be to use some of this, just shake all that glitter about, and I'm going to load Prince Charles Mum's ink into my little Conway Stewart Indiana Jones Model 58 here, and this will be the ink for the next couple of days. How do you fill a lever fill? Well, you pull the lever out, comme ça, you dunk it in your ink and release the lever gently. And leave it in the ink for a couple of seconds so that it has time to work against gravity and soak up the ink. And then, in theory, you have a full pen loaded with the most gorgeous ink. Now all I need is a bit of paper to write on. I think I'll write in my Bible, because this is an ink that I didn't quite get right the first time because I used the wrong nib to write with. I think it makes sense to use this lovely ink on this. So let's just scrawl a quick message. Diamine, and what's it called? It is Platinum Jubilee. Talk amongst yourselves. And one thing I would say about these inks, all of them, whether it's Dominant Industries or Diamine, they give excellent shading. Now, not everyone likes lots of shading. I love it because a bit of shading, I think, gives much more character to your writing. It makes it look neater on the page. I just think it is better generally. And there we have it. Now, back in the shirt pocket. Incidentally, if you have a pen of this type or similar, do make sure that when you put the pen away, you don't have the clip and the lever at the same point. Why? Because you grab the clip, you put it in your pocket, and the lever sometimes might stick out just a little way and get pulled out, in which case you'll squirt loads of ink into the cap, which will drip straight down and make your pocket look a god-awful mess. So what I tend to do is I always, with this pen, make sure I have it lined up properly. In my case, that means the nib going in line with the clip, and then when the clip is there, the lever is to the side. That means I don't run the risk of squirting ink all over my pocket, which in this shirt wouldn't matter, but in a white shirt it would. So here we go. Let's just have a look at this. Now, as you can see, I wasn't writing at too much of an angle, but the shading is fabulous. I can vouch for the glitter, which is glorious. I should just say it's very difficult to demonstrate glitter on some situations. Here I've got lights above me, I've got light coming in from the window, I've got a light over there, and that means there's rather a lot of distraction It's easier to demonstrate it out in the open air or with just one light source, and especially LEDs. LEDs seem to work better on these glittery inks than ordinary lights. But I'll just try again. So it's facing the window, so that should get a little bit more for you. And that gives you, hopefully, a bit of an indication. Arabian Nights is gorgeous. I do love it. But it's a little bit darker. And for me, that makes it feel more like a wintry type of ink. No, I've no idea why either. It just strikes me that it is. Because that's the sort of chap I am. That's the way I roll. Hope that was interesting. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed that video, do please give me a thumbs up and like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. But in the meantime, I'll be back in a week's time when I've got the third book of the year being published. And then I've only got, is it the third or the fourth? No, it's the, oh, I don't know. When I've got another book out anyway. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.